All right. Everyone calm down, settle down. Let's get on the main cabin for orientation. And everyone get ready to have a great summer at Camp Crystal Lake. All right, guys, come on, take your seats, settle down. Hey, no phones. We told you guys. Come on, there's no signal up here anyways.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the grand reopening after 15 years of Camp Crystal Lake.
And we're so happy to have you here for our inaugural season. We're so happy to be here as the new owners of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah, we've recently purchased it, renovated, and are happily welcoming our new class.
I mean, we were doing so well with the podcast, we thought, why not reinvest that money into something that really matters? And this camp has such a rich history. We thought it was a shame for it to stay closed. And we're so happy to see you here.
Yeah.
Let's get a quick head count to see just how many camps we have here in this first class. Let's
see.
Is that one or two of you? Oh, twins. Okay. I see 50.
50, yes.
I got 50.
Yes.
Great. 50 campers here. Fantastic.
Yes. And I'm excited to have all of you here and excited to tell you about the history of this place.
Yeah, we know you're really excited. I know we have Counselor Max over the archery range ready to teach you the art of archery. We have Counselor Amy at the lake ready to teach you the breaststroke. But we know the topic on everyone's minds, I'm sure when you sent your deposits in to start camping here with us, was Crystal Lake, really? I've heard so many crazy things about that place. And yes, we know about the rumors, we know about the legends, we know about Jason. Let's just clear the air.
Yes.
So none of that's true.
No, it's
all just made up. It's all Hollywood magic.
Urban legends.
Yes, you're in no danger here other than having too much fun. But just to get it out of our systems, I think it would be a good idea here at orientation to talk about, some of those legends, some of those movies they made, and go through, we want to get you in the camper spirit. And here at Camp Crystal Lake, we love to reward excellence with merit badges. And we're going to do the same thing with these movies. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about what do we really like? What's the best, the survivors or victims? Who was the best? Who was the best Jason? What was the best movie? What was the best kill? And we're going to give a little merit badge for each one.
Not only will we give merit badges, but we're also going to give demerit badges.
That's the thing. When you step out of line, we're not afraid to give you a demerit. And we're not afraid to give these stories demerits either.
Yes, some of these kills could have been better.
Some of these Jasons are a little lame. Some of these survivors are really annoying.
Ugh.
And we're going to give out the merit badges for the best and the demerits for the worst. And just because we know you're eager to decamp, we're not going to talk about all of the movies right now. Maybe if we have time later on the summer, we'll get to that. Right now, we're only going to do the first 4.
Yes, the first 4 from Friday the 13th 1 through Friday the 13th Part 4.
The final chapter.
The final chapter.
So with no further ado, let's just get right into it. We know you're eager to get started, and so are we.
All right, campers, let's do it.
So what should we talk about first? Let's just start at best movie of these first 4. So this is what I would call the classic era. These are the first 4 that were made. It was when the franchise was still new. It was still kind of fresh. So classic era, Friday the 13th. Of the 4, let's go. What's your favorite? What do you give your best movie merit badge to?
I think my favorite movie was Friday the 13th Part 2.
Part 2. And why Part 2?
I think the first one kind of sets it up where everyone's trying to figure out who the killers are, what's happening, what's the lore.
It's going for like a twist.
Yeah, the twist at the end. And now in Part 2, you know that, and you know what not to expect anymore.
Part 2 is really where it becomes the formula. Now comes into play, where there's Jason in the woods. He's big, he's huge, he loves to kill teenagers, and he's very good at it.
And he hates windows.
He hates windows.
He's an
If you're a window in the Camp Crystal Lake area when Jason's around, you need to watch out because he's coming after you with a vengeance.
I hope you have homeowner's insurance or some kind of insurance for these windows because he hates them. Frankenstein hates fire. Jason hates windows.
You think this was Part 2 is better than 3 and 4?
I think.
Or do you just like that it's more classic?
I think it's more classic just because Part 3 and 4, great movies as well. However,
great stretching. Good
movies as well.
Good slasher movies.
All right. They had their merits.
Not Silence of the Lambs.
They had their ups and downs, as any movie does. But in my opinion, the first one, not that great.
We'll get to the demerits, yeah.
The second one, amazing. And the three and four, a continuation of the second one.
You think it's just too much of the same?
Too much of repetitiveness.
Okay. So part two, that's your best movie merit badge.
I believe so, yes.
Well, as Counselor Ed here, I have my own merit badges to give out. I'm going to give my best movie merit badge to Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter.
Ooh, why is this your final answer?
For this merit badge, yes. What I like about this one, I think the human storyline, I think the human characters are more well realized. I think they're more fun. I actually like some of them. Like, I really want to see them succeed. Their own little interpersonal drama. It has a little more fun. You can tell they know what they're doing a little bit more at this point. I also think the final like confrontation with the Jason is much better in part 4 than in part 2 or 3, especially like the whole chase sequence where he's after the final girl. And I really enjoyed how there was the dynamic of not just the crazy teenagers partying in the woods, there was also the family, which is not something you see a lot in these movies. It was a different dynamic. I appreciated the change. I thought just the acting was on a higher level.
I would say the family aspect, we didn't just focus on teenagers being partying and rowdy. They included a family to give you an extra feels to it.
Yes.
And not only that, but they also give some sideline characters, like with the opening of the couple at the store.
That's part 3.
Oh, sorry, part 3. Ooh. So it's
part 3.
All right.
Part 4 opens with the morgue, who is this weird character in his own
right.
Oh,
yes.
The mortician,
correct,
the nurse.
Correct. You are correct. Oh, the mortician. No. Oh, God. No, I think it was a coroner more than
it was the coroner.
Yes. Right. It was because it was at a hospital.
You're right.
No, yeah.
You just see some different environments, and then I feel like that family relationship, you do actually want them. You want them to like. And Tommy Jarvis is so interesting that this little boy is there, such a different kind of character, be confronting Jason, and just the final resolution I think is so much stronger than the other ones. Which just kind of, and the other ones like they kind of win, they just kind of do. Part 2, I think actually I do kind of like how she uses like the child psychology on Jason. That's fun. Part 3 is just she just kind of manages to win by luck.
Yeah.
Whatever. Part 4, it feels like there's an element of psychology where Tommy is disguising himself as young Jason to confuse him. I love that Trish, I think, is a good final girl because she's really confronts him really well and she's really battling more so than the other victims do. And it just ties together nicely at the end. And it was meant to end the series. Did not. Because they made too much money to quit. But you do get that sense that they're trying to really go all in for this one.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I think none of the kills here are like bad. They're all at least good. Really good gore effects as well. Some good jump scares coming through the windows, as always.
As always, Jason. Yeah. And you actually get to see a really detailed look at Jason's face.
You do. I think it's the best Jason face of these first 4.
It's the best of the worst looking. You get a very clear in the other ones. You saw the eye in movie 2. In movie 3, he takes off the mask, but you don't really see his face full frontal.
You see it like for a moment. In part 1, he's a little boy,
and the other one's like far away.
So, but I mean, the main thing again is I do think the human storyline is actually pretty good in this one, and that's what puts it over the top for me.
Yeah.
Let's just segue right into. Well, let's actually. So we just gave out a merit badge. Let's talk about a demerit for this category. Of these first 4, which do you think was the worst?
So this is a little tricky, and I might get canceled for this, but I want to say movie 1.
I also am going to give my demerit to movie 1. I don't think it's that tricky. I don't think movie 1's that great. I think it's aggressively okay.
Yeah.
At best. I mean, and also the rewatches, it loses it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the best part of movie 1 is the twist, where, spoiler alert, Jason's not the killer. It's Mrs. Voorhees' mother's actually the killer. And she shows up, and she seems like a nice old lady for like 2 minutes, and then she's not. She's a killer.
She's a friend of the Christies.
They're really riffing on Psycho in this one, where you can really tell from the soundtrack is very Psycho-inspired. That carries through the other movies, but you feel that presence strongly in this first one. It's just kind of a reversal, where instead of the son going nuts for the dead mother, it's the mother going nuts for the dead son.
Yeah, and one of the things I did appreciate the more you think about it, is how much upper body strength Pamela has.
Yeah, a little too much.
Considering that she put some of these dead bodies in up
Hey,
trees.
Alice has some serious upper body strength for that machete chop at the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one fell swoop decapitation.
clean. That's a clean slice.
Yeah,
Yeah. The jump scare at the end with Jason is the highlight of the movie. Little boy Jason jumping out of the lake doesn't make any sense in terms of continuity,
no.
but it's a very effective jump scare. I saw this movie once with a friend in college. They had a special. We were in LA, and they had a special event right near the college we were at with the director Sean Cunningham. And he came, he talked about the movie a little bit, and my friend had never seen the movie before. He's a bit of a scaredy cat to begin with.
Oh, okay, okay.
And he was good for the whole movie until that last jump scare. And he jumped, it was a little scream, and I just loved that it actually got someone again, even all those years later. But I mean, the human drama in this one is lame. There's not even much drama to go for.
No.
There's a little bit of jealousy, but never really develops into full on drama. The Alice character, who's our final girl, is just kind of there. They're all just kind of there.
They're all kind of there.
You can see where these archetypes will come from in later movies. There's like the goofy guy. There's kind of the generic heartthrob. There's the final girl. There's the guy the final girl kind of likes. But none of it really has really coalesced in anything that's really fun to watch yet.
Yeah, they also had that the old man messenger of doom.
Yeah, Ralph's in this movie.
One thing I will say, the man who reopened it, was it Paul? Who was the one? Steve. He reopened Steve Christie. He reopens the camp, and it was said that he spent $25,000 renovating and getting it together.
We didn't spend that much.
And no, we did not. Thank God. And to give you an idea of how much he spent in today's money, that would be $100,000.
That was too much.
That's too
much. That was too much.
No, we went over this camp. Didn't need that much.
$666 all it cost. So that's our demerit for the first movie. I will say, if I had to put another one on there, I think part 3 was also it's one of the weaker ones in the series.
Yeah.
I think it's just, again, it's a little more interesting because some of these characters, which we'll get to the stories in a minute, but you would love to hate them at least.
Oh, I have some thoughts.
It's just some of these kills I feel in that one in particular are very lame, where they happen off screen. That's a big minus. This is the one where Jason finally becomes hockey mask Jason. That's iconic. I like that aspect of it, but other than that, it's kind of And the final girl is really just kind of whatever. And she has this weird relationship with Jason. I don't know. The whole movie's a bit odd.
Yeah.
Not one I would really rewatch, but I wasn't going to rewatch it to talk about here.
It has plot holes throughout.
Yeah. So we've already talked a little bit about the different Jasons. Why don't we move into giving the merit badge for Best Jason?
Best Jason, I'm going to give it to movie 4, Jason. We get a full frontal look at Jason. We finally get to see what he looks like without his mask on, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. I'm going to give it to part 4 as well. I feel like this is Jason at his most pissed off.
Yeah.
He's just like, you can tell the way that it's performed is he's just angry the whole time. I love the way he just smashes through the door at the end. That whole battle. I mean, Trish actually really fights back, and that lets Jason fight back too.
Well, that's because she had something to lose.
Right, she's trying to protect Tommy.
Yeah.
And and usually they either just fold or they just run away. It's fun to actually see him battling. In part 3, he battles Chrissy a little bit. And in that one, it's a lame Jason because like she slices him and he's like, oh, I got really hurt. I have to stop for a while. I'll try to deal with that. And this one, Trish will slice his hand in half. He's like, oh, that's interesting. Let me keep chasing after you. That's the Jason I like.
Yeah, he doesn't let anything stop him.
No, he's just a tank.
Yeah, he just barrels through obstacles. He lets you run a little bit to get you that feeling that maybe you will make it.
Yeah.
And then
but somehow he's always in front of you.
And he's always just there.
Right. He's great at striking from the shadows. And you also really feel that the way that he's doing the kills feels so physical on this one, where he's just crushing people's faces and such.
Oh, God.
So definitely this one. I think also the best version of the costumes in this first 4 set for Jason. Definitely prefer the hockey mask to the sack on head Jason.
Well, I guess this leads to the next merit, worst Jason.
We're going to worst Jason. All right, what's your worst Jason?
Sack Jason.
So that's your favorite movie?
No,
favorite movie, worst Jason.
It's
interesting.
Favorite movie, worst Jason. Yes.
Now I have a question about this demerit badge. Does baby Jason in part one count?
No.
Oh, he counted for me.
It,
I gave it to little boy Jason in the lake.
Little boy
Just
Jason.
because it ruins the canon of this movie. You care all. It doesn't make any sense. How is he 12 years old, still in the lake, and yet he's a full grown adult in the next movie?
Well, remember, between the lake scene and the first movie of the kills, it's been about 20 years. So
No,
he's
no, it's
in
been
his.
about 5 years.
No,
Oh, between part one and part two.
no. I'm saying between when Pamela talks about him when he had his accident.
Yes, it's been 20 years. But when he jumps out at Alice at the end, he looks like a 12-year-old boy still.
Oh yes. Okay, I
Yes,
had a note.
it's
I
so
had a note
odd.
about that because she had never heard about him in the sense of she had nothing, no idea what he looked like. So how could she say this boy that came out of the
Well,
ocean?
because it's supposed to actually be happening, that he is actually in the lake. But then obviously it doesn't make sense how he then becomes an adult. So little boy Jason, too confusing. Great jump scare.
Yeah.
Great jump scare. Too confusing.
Yeah.
Worst Jason demerit for me. What do you hate about part two, Jason?
Part two Jason was Sack Jason, and
Sackhead's dumb.
Sack was so dumb.
And the overalls?
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
was like, he was like a farmer in the woods, just kind of. He had his mom's decapitated head. It was very psycho
I
with
like that.
that.
You know what I like about part two Jason that kept him above part one Jason for me?
What?
The pitchfork.
Ooh.
I like Jason with the because usually it's the machete, and by part three it feels like and even in part one the machete's around, but by part three it's like he's adopted that. So now this is my primary weapon.
Yeah.
Part two, it feels like the pitchfork is his primary weapon. I kind of like that. It's a little different. He used it was pretty spooky, where it's coming like through the top of the jeep, poking through doors and such. I like the pitchfork.
Pitchfork Jason. What a man.
Pitchfork Jason, what a Jason.
No, but he lived like the life of a hermit, and he had his own little.
He feels more like a scavenger than a hunter, and then he starts just killing people. In part three, he's a bit more of a stalker, living in the barn. And in part four, you really feel like he's a hunter. He's just tearing through people.
The one thing I always found confusing about movie one to movie two was the final girl of movie one gets killed off.
Well, this is now we're getting into the survivors.
No. Hold on. How did Jason know where she lived? Because
that's a good question.
She supposedly did not live close to the camp.
No, she's in like a suburb. It feels like watching a Halloween movie.
Yeah. So how did he know where she lived?
Yeah, he has some weird psychic, but he's supposed to be just a guy at this point.
Exactly, he's just a guy.
He shouldn't know where she is.
And how did he break into her apartment, put the decapitated head in the fridge, and then sneak up? Because he's heavy.
It's much more Michael Myers than Jason Voorhees.
He's
that kill. I like that kill, actually. We'll get to it in the kill section.
Yeah.
But I do agree it doesn't make sense. Also, I think the Jason face in part two is the weakest of the faces. Although, I don't know, part three is bad too for the face.
Yeah.
Part three, Jason loses points for me based on... Because he has this weird relationship where he attacked Chrissy, who's our final girl, when she was a child. And there's a part where like he lifts his massive to show her the face so that she knows it's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
As if like she couldn't figure that out on her own. And also, why would he do that? And why would he care? I don't know.
And why would he then put her in bed in her room?
The whole thing is very odd. Part three, Jason also... I would actually maybe put part two above part three.
When we saw him, you know what I instantly thought of? The monster in the Goonies. We probably had
he has a similar face.
Yeah, Goonies probably borrowed from that.
See that shot? I do think the shot of the Jason face in part two is worse than the shot of the Jason face in part three. Part three at least has that shot where she's like dreaming and she sees him in the window with like the bloody face. That's a pretty creepy shot. I like that for part three. And part two, he just pops through the window at the end. Decent jump scare. Pretty obvious at that point that there's going to be a jump scare there. But at least it's not bad, but the face looks a little too... It's not messed up enough.
Yeah, no.
It needs to be worse. Like in part four, like it's an almost zombie-ish face at that point. That's a good Jason face. That's terrifying. Scary. Right.
Yeah. Another thing that I noticed was in the first 2-3 movies, the final girl always ends up in a canoe.
Yes, because they want to keep recreating that canoe shot. Like the third one was... Maybe the third one's the worst. Maybe that should have got the demerit over part one.
I felt like at that point, close. I felt like they were getting sponsorship by a canoe company.
Because they just want to recreate something jumps out of the lake at you, but with the mom, which never comes back, and it was just a dream sequence. Not great. But okay, so your worst Jason's part two, and I feel like I might be coming around to agree with you if we don't count part one as well.
Yeah.
But we've already touched on some kills. So maybe we want to jump right into the best and the worst of the kills.
What's your best kill in your opinion?
Well, I have several. I have several nominees for this category because this is an important part of any Friday the 13th movie is the kill. So let me start at the bottom. How many do I have here? I have four. Four I want to talk about. So the last ones we already discussed, which is Alice in part 2, where she opens the fridge and she sees Mrs. Voorhees' severed head, and Jason has an ice pick, and he gets the ice pick through the side of her head into her brain.
Yes.
And what I like about this one is when you see Alice at the beginning of part 2, especially the first time I watched this movie, is you think, okay, we're going to be following the same character. Mm-hmm. Should be like Laurie Strode in Halloween or Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street, where this is going to be her main girl. She's going to be in all the movies. No. Jason takes care of business right away. I like that tone that's in. I like it's shocking. I like the tone it sets. Again, I can see your point that this is more of a Halloween moment with the posing and the suburb. It's kind of interesting to see Jason in a suburb. Mm-hmm. It's not his usual hunting ground. But I just like that it's so different, so unexpected. So that gets on my list at number 4. My next nominee is from Friday the 13th Part 1 with Jack, played by Kevin Bacon. This is an iconic film for the series. This is the arrow through the neck, where after Jack has just hooked up with, who was his girlfriend in that? Marcy? No. Brenda. No, yeah, Marcy. So he's in the cabin, he's in bed, he's smoking a cigarette, he's feeling pretty good about life. Then the hand comes from under the bed, and then you see poking through his neck comes the arrowhead, the arrow. Mrs. Voorhees presumably has been under the bed waiting for that moment to strike. And it's a lot of blood. It's a nice gory. It's not gory, it's bloody.
Yeah.
Pretty well done effect, even today. Holds up pretty decently. It's fun that it's Kevin Bacon in one of his first roles, and he obviously went on to be Kevin Bacon, so it's fun to see him in a trashy movie like this. Now, this is really the first kill. Is it the first one like you see? Like other people have been killed?
No, Annie was the first
Annie's first. I like Annie too, but Jack's the first one. Like, whoa, this is like Annie's a short one.
Yeah, she was. I loved it.
You don't know her that
she was the one who.
You think Annie's going to be the protagonist?
Yeah,
it's a fun inversion as
well. She's the unbeliever,
right?
She's the one who makes fun of the town, the Hicks, the townsfolk.
She shouldn't have done that.
Who warned her, don't go to Camp Blood.
But Jack, I feel, is a little more visceral. Yeah. And you've been with him longer, so you can kind of like that character a little more. So I think it makes a strong impact when it happens. That's my number 3. My number 2 goes to Debbie in part 3. Do you remember Debbie?
Debbie, part 3. How did she die?
Debbie is the girl who was... So strangely, Debbie's supposed to be a teen mom, which they mentioned twice, like very passing in dialogue that she's pregnant. Never does anything with this information. Doesn't have any... There's not even a scene where like they're drinking. She's like, oh, I can't drink. Like nothing. There's nothing about this.
Yeah, she just...
To the point where I'm not even sure if it's supposed to be like a joke. Like, is she actually pregnant? I don't know.
Is the actress pregnant?
I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. She doesn't look pregnant.
No.
So I think she's not. I think that it was some weird 80s thing where she's saying she is, but she's not. Because that makes me happier. So that's what I'm going to assume. What I like about this kill is it's very elaborate. Where she's the one where she has to sleep in the hammock with her boyfriend because they got the hammock room. And she goes into the hammock and she's reading Fangoria magazine. I love that they put Fangoria. And Fangoria, if you're not a big 80s nerd, this was a huge horror magazine. Magazines were still a thing. And this was the horror movie magazine. So all the horror nerds back then, instead of having podcasts, they had Fangoria magazine every month. And I thought it was such a cool reference that they actually put that in the movie for the horror nerds who were watching the movie. And she sees the blood dripping down. And says, what's this blood coming from? And she looks up at the ceiling and she sees her boyfriend, who's been almost just cleaved in half in the rafters. Andy. Very nasty. Andy basically got cut in half from reverse. He's doing handstands and Jason comes and whacks him. So that's a death you do not want to experience if you're a man. That one's painful.
Yes.
And she just gets machete through the chest. It's not, the actual kill is not super amazing. She just gets, stabbed from underneath, I think.
From the bottom up.
From bottom up. It's similar to the arrow kill, the same kind of device.
But if you think about it.
But I just love the build up. I love the Fangoria. I love you look up. You see it. Oh my God. Ugh, already dead.
Can I say something though? This kill makes no sense to me.
Because she would see him under the hammock.
Exactly. This hammock is not big.
It's not like a bed where there's a whole bed frame and a mattress.
Yeah. This hammock is levitating in the air. There's no way to hide under it. And it's not like he's the lightest person.
Yeah, he's a big guy. I agree with you, but I don't care. I still like it. I like the whole staging of this one.
Also,
and it's the only moment from part 3 that I could remember before I watched it again.
So what is the top?
So my best kill merit badge goes to Jimbo in part 4. Where
Jimbo.
Jimbo, we're going to talk more about Jimbo when we get to the best survivors. I love Jimbo. But so Jimmy, he's downstairs. He's just hooked up with Tina, and he's bragging about it. He's come to get a bottle of wine. He's asking his friend Teddy, "Hey Teddy, where's the corkscrew?" And Jason comes out of nowhere, holding the corkscrew, slams it into his hand,
right here.
and then he gets cleaved to the face. I'm getting the actual kill. It's not. I mean, you see people get knifed in the face a lot in these movies. Even though desensitized do it, but the comedic stage of "Where's the corkscrew?" and you slam the corkscrew through his hand. He's like, "Ah!" And then it's funny, it's gory, it's scary. It's a good jump scare. You're disarmed at that moment because you feel, yeah, Jimbo did it. I love that kid. It's super memorable. So it's fun. Kills shouldn't be fun, but this one's fun, and that gets my number 1.
Now, Jimbo is played by. I love Jimbo as the character, but also as the actor, which is Crispin Glover.
We'll get to the best survivors. We're talking about kills. This is kills only right now.
Fine.
Stay on track. The campers will get antsy. So that was my best kill merit badge goes to Jimbo. How about you? Do you have a whole lineup or just one?
One.
Oh, you only got one.
I always pick one.
He was efficient.
There's only one.
I couldn't pick just one. I love him too much.
I do not give participation trophies. Either you win it or you don't.
And you really want to be in Alvaro's camping group for the Canoe Race kids.
So you talked about him. We liked his death. My number 1 best kill, Andy.
Well, Andy's probably like the most painful.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what's going on with Andy and when death? I kind of brushed over it because I don't like to think about it. Tell us what happens to Andy.
Well, Andy and Debbie had just finished business. And, well, you get the sense that Andy is a very
in goofy, a hammock, by the way.
In the hammock, yes.
Tricky business in the hammock.
Was it the hammock or was it Andy? We'll never know.
It was the hammock. We know.
While Debbie is showering, Andy's being a silly goof and decides to go up to the shower while doing a handstand and asking her if she would like to drink. She declines. He walks away.
Still doing the handstand.
Still doing the handstand. And as he's walking away doing the handstand, he notices someone's in front of him.
In the hall.
In the hallway. He looks up. Oh no. Cleavage right through the middle. Crotch first.
It goes between the legs right into the crotch. Crotch first stabbing. He gets cleaved not all the way through them, pretty deep. You see him again in the rafters.
Mind you, I think he's only wearing like shorts or his underwear.
He has jeans on.
Oh, was it jeans already?
Not that provides much protection against Jason's machete.
No, this powerful. I think Jason like sharpens it after every kill.
He does. He's very attentive to the blade care. Yeah, this is definitely the most painful kill.
It was the most.
It's the one that you cringe when you see it the most.
If you're a man, you definitely like felt Andy's death a little more.
It definitely stands. I remember this one quite well.
I as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, that hurts."
Yeah, poor Andy. At least he got to do it in a hammock first.
Yeah, but that's my best kill. That's my best kill.
So that's our merits for kills. Let's talk about our demerits for kills. So I got 2. I got, first of all, part 3. So this is my runner-up, I guess. This is going to be Chuck. So Chuck, if you don't remember his name, I don't blame you because they don't say it very often. And when I was taking these notes for these movies, I had to like rewind to get everyone's name. So Chuck is the hippie. He's the stoner. He's always smoking dope.
Oh, yes.
And at some point, he's smoking dope with his girlfriend and the power goes out. And he goes into the basement to try to turn the power back on. And there is a really good shot, actually, where the power comes on and he's in the basement and Jason's behind him. And it's cool that you don't see Jason in the dark. The lights come on, Jason's there. That's cool. And then Jason just kind of shoves into the power box. He's like, and he dies.
Yeah.
There's not much going on there. They could have done anything else. It feels like this was like the budget kill. Just shove him in this. We'll put some sparks in the FX afterwards and we'll call it a day. So just kind of lame. I don't want to include, so first of all, let me give it a disclaimer. I'm not including anything that's just like it cuts away, like you see a scream and it cuts away. I'm not including these in worst kills. Mm-hmm. It has to at least be like they tried to do at least something.
Yeah.
And Chuck is the bottom of the barrel something that they tried to do. There are several that are just scream, cut away. And those would win, but I decided not to count them. It feels like cheating.
Okay.
So that's my runner-up. My absolute worst is in part 4.
Oh.
This was Rob. So Rob is here to hunt Jason. at least,
Oh
at least
no!
he is until he comes face to face with Jason. So you would think the Jason Hunter would do something,
Hmm.
or at least he would have a big epic kill. What really happens is Jason grabs him once and Rob starts screaming, "He's got me! He's got me! He's got me!" Like over and over. And Jason picks up like a little hand rake and just jabs that. And you don't even see it. It's like in the background, a little far
It
away.
was a garden claw while they were in
Right,
the
it's a
basement.
garden claw in the dark, so the camera's up to obviously he's not actually came with a garden claw. It's
Yeah.
they're just acting like they are, and there's no blood, there's nothing. It's such a build up to this moment of the
Yeah.
confrontation. Just he's got me, blunk, blunk, blunk. He's got me, run away, blunk, blunk, dead.
Yeah.
Nothing. So Rob, worst kill.
That was such a dumb ways to die.
Yeah,
No, I think what I also didn't like is that while Rob is being killed, Trish runs away
she just kind of watches and runs.
and then comes back.
She does come back for no reason.
Yeah, she's like, I better run, I better run.
Did he really get him? I don't know if he told me if he got him or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she just comes back, strolling straight to the body.
I like Trish, but that was a dumb move.
That was. I was like, girl, if you die right now, it's gonna be deserved.
Yeah. Just because like the build up for this was so much.
Yeah.
And it was so the way that he keeps screaming, "He's got me," and just doing nothing to try to do anything about it, I thought was funny in a lame way.
Yeah, it was.
So
It was so dumb. Trish's reaction to it was very dumb. Yeah, okay, I get it. I get why
yeah.
yours.
So do you have a line or just the one?
I have a one, and for me, it's Harold, the old man from movie.
Harold.
Yes, the old man from movie 3.
I think that was that bad. Why was it your worst?
That's my worst in terms of situation awareness of what happens right before, right after.
Do you think he should have survived?
I think he should have just not been killed. Yes, I guess he would have survived because
You just don't want to see him die?
I hated that he was like right after the bathroom in like this dingy little like storage space.
That wasn't very dignified.
It was not
No,
dignified.
I like Harold.
He was just so weird, and then he was just because right before you see
And
Harold,
Jason just stole his clothes too.
yeah,
Yeah.
talk about
And killed his rabbits. That was nasty.
that was so mean. Like, what's up with his animal abuse?
Harold didn't have to die. He wasn't even a teenager.
He was not.
Yeah.
He was just a weird store clerk.
And
who
it is
lived in-
it is a very generic kill. It's the cleaver to the chest that happens to. I mean, I took notes on this time for this, and there's so many kills that are just this stab in the chest. Like that feels like one that they could just buy like off the shelf, the special effects shop, and throw in there when they needed to show a kill on screen.
Yeah, it was just a very sad in terms of it wasn't great. It was he had just come off the
And,
bathroom.
for the first kill of the movie, probably should have been a little more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
I
like
could feel that.
his home life seems a little edgy.
His wife is not super kind to him.
No, she's just kind of verbally abusive towards him.
Very nacky.
Yeah, and just I was just
With
like
the rollers in.
I was like, poor man. This poor man. But I guess death was a release for him.
Yeah, so maybe that's the best kill.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna actually jump as we're in the demerit mode. I'm gonna jump right into my worst. So I call these people survivors. Most of them don't survive. I consider anyone who's not a killer a survivor because of a video game I play where you either play the killer or you play the survivor. So these are worst survivors or victims. And we'll save best survivors, maybe our mystery category for the end.
All right.
Let's do worst survivors first. I'm actually going in the reverse order, so I do have some honorable mentions again. But I'm going to start with my worst, because I already talked about him. I give it to Rob. I think Rob is just such a punk in this movie. He's just so built up of like, I'm here to hunt Jason. He killed my sister in part 2. I'm going to get revenge. And then spend the whole movie trying to find Jason. What do you do when you find him? He's got me. He's got me. Don't get me. Jason. Oh no, I'm so helpless. So pathetic. So sad. Sorry to any Robs who are listening, but this movie, Rob, so lame. Just ultra lame. I mean, at some point, Jason sneaks into his tent and breaks his gun. That's also kind of pathetic, dude.
Yeah.
Also, maybe at that point you leave, you get a new gun and come back and try again.
Or leave that camp area.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's all bark, no bite. Like, such a Billy. He seems like such a cool guy. He acts tough.
Yeah.
Actually comes face to face. Total lame.
All bark, no.
Absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
Big thumbs down on you, Rob.
And also, if you think about the continuity between movie 2 to 3, It made no sense.
It does, because all these movies take place like a day after.
Yeah.
And yet he's like, my sister was killed by Jason, but that was in part two, which was like 2 days ago. So
Yeah.
how did you arm up to come to the forest to hunt Jason?
So
I
quickly.
don't know. It's such a cool idea of the Jason Hunter. Better realized in some of the sequels, by the way. But ugh.
It felt like he was gonna go
Rob gives me the
the ick.
ugh.
It looked like he was gonna go full Rambo, and
And then he's
then
so lame, just
yeah.
immediately collapses. Like the lamest death of the whole series instantly. So Rob got me. So okay, so that's Rob. We've already talked about his kill.
Yeah.
I feel like I've humiliated him enough now. Let's talk about some other characters I don't like. So honorable mention to a group of characters. I call them the Bland brothers. So these are guys in a few different movies. In part four, I don't even know his name. It's just the guy who his whole personality is I want to get with Sarah and I'm very nice. And then eventually
Oh,
he didn't even say his name. He has no personality.
the nice
And
guy.
part two, it was Andy who's just there to be with he dates Debbie. That's all he does. Nothing interesting. In part two, Jeff. My only note for Jeff is he looks vaguely like Mark Hamill because he does nothing. They do nothing in these movies. So the Bland brothers, who have no personality, have nothing going on, and don't die in exciting ways, except Andy does,
Yeah.
they get an honorable mention. I can't even include them because they're so bland. They're not even the worst. They're just bland, like blah. Also worse. So now I'm into actual characters. In part four, the mortician we mentioned, Art,
Oh, the creepy mortician.
the coroner, I think we said,
Corner, yes,
the
corner.
coroner. He's just a creep.
He gives
He's
me
a
the
weird,
ick.
creepy guy. I think it's funny. He's trying so hard to get with the nurse, like in the morgue. Like it has to be like in the morgue for him.
With Jason
With the
right
and the
behind
nurse is
him.
into it.
Yeah.
So like fair game, dude. But that's weird. He has like this weird calisthenics video on. That's because it's 80s calisthenics where they're like jumping up and down. They're in the leotards, leg
Yeah.
warmers. It's like okay, like I get it. This is really the right place for this Axel. Maybe not. So he got on my list.
Okay. So what's your
Also,
top worst?
oh, I have two more. I have two more bad
Ooh.
ones. I have a lot of survivors I don't like,
Wow.
which is good in these movies. You get to celebrate. Like, yes, they sing finally. I will say for Axel, the corner.
The
We're saying
corner.
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 It is a good death. He gets the bone saw to the neck and then the
Uh,
180 degrees spin around.
oh
So
yeah.
very deserved. Also, he's a weird guy, pretty pervy. Good on you, Jay. This one, Jason gets a pass for. Next on my list is I know your favorite character. This might be your worst. Is Shelly from part three.
I guess we'll just jump to mine then. Yes.
This is your demerit.
This is my biggest demerit.
Why don't you tell us about Shelly then?
Shelly was such a weird guy. He tried so hard to be the nice guy, but he was also the creepy guy.
He's just not nice.
Yeah.
Like you get that vibe. Like he wants like everyone. I'm so nice, but like he's not.
He's not.
I'm not like a nice guy, like a pervy nice guy. He's just like not nice.
He's not nice at all. They keep
He pulls like nasty pranks on people
he keeps pulling pranks on people
about
and
murdering them or being murdered.
they keep telling him don't do this. And then after he does this and it gets, why is everyone so mad at me? It was just a prank. Why does everyone keep telling me not to repeat this and get mad whenever I repeat this? When he died, it was such a lame
His death is so lame.
It
too.
was so lame.
It's off camera. And he just shows up. Oh, my neck was cut 20 minutes ago, but I'm still alive. No, I'm not.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie, I clapped. I stood up and clapped.
Finally, good job, Jason.
Yes, I
Go
was
get
like,
him.
you did something good.
I will say, what's funny about Shelley is he's supposed to be like the fat guy, and I guess he's fat for like 1983, and he's like not fat for 2024.
He's
at
actually
all.
skinny.
Yeah, he's like pretty average to below average.
Yeah, he's what we consider skinny now.
He gets a little sympathy point for me because he's supposed to use his date for the vacation in the woods. It's this Vera girl they meet.
Yeah.
And there's a point where he's alone with her in the cabin. He's like, "Wow, Vera, I really like you." And she like puts her finger on his lips. She's like, "I don't think so.
No.
I'm gonna go for a walk. We'll talk later." It's like, ouch.
Yeah, no.
Like that hurt me to watch.
He was the cool part of Shelly. The only cool part of Shelly was when they went to the convenience store and
He runs over the biker.
he runs over the bike of the gangsters who were trying to that actively harass
He
them.
stands up for himself for the first time.
He stands up, so he runs over their bike, and then he takes off like a bandit. and that was deserved because one of the biker gang guys breaks their windshield and
He
one of the
does.
windows of their car.
And they stole like $10 from him before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he can't carry that energy forward. He immediately reverts to being super
Creepy.
lame. I will say that's not the only good thing he's ever did. He also gave Jason the hockey mask. Because when he tries to jump out of the water to scare Vera, because somehow this is going to win her over, he thinks if I jump out of the water with his spear gun in a hockey mask and a wetsuit, she'll start to like me. I don't know how this guy thinks. That's his theory. So he does that, and that's where Jason gets the hockey mask from. He's wearing that.
That's right.
He goes to the barn. Next time you see Jason, Jason has the hockey mask.
Exactly. That's why people thought. That's why Vera thought it was Shelly when she gets killed.
Right.
Because she had just seen that hockey mask and she got speared in the eye.
Right. And this part 3 was in 3D.
Yeah.
And it really lets you know. So you see that spear could come right at you. Yeah. Right into her eye.
All the sticks, all the spears.
There's a lot of like innocuous things during 3D in part 3. I might have to reverse my demerit badge to be part 3. So the more we talk about it. But Shelly does give Jason his hockey mask. So that's why I can't make him the worst. Because he did that. That was good. Because that's such an iconic, cool Jason image.
It was better than the sack.
The only other survivor I have on my worst survivors is from part 4. It's Teddy Bear.
Oh, no. He's not a survivor.
Teddy Bear is the antagonist for Jimbo, who we love. And Teddy Bear is just another guy. And Teddy Bear, well, his name's just Teddy. We call him still Teddy Bear a lot around the ladies. So I'm referring to him that to mock him. And he thinks he's very good. He thinks he's very smooth, and he's very not. And he's constantly insulting Jimbo the whole time, although Jimbo's the one who triumphs in the end. And they're trying to hook up with these two girls, Trish and Tina. They meet while they're at Crystal Lake. And it's fun to watch him strike out because he's such a creepy, kind of nasty, lame guy.
Yeah.
And eventually he settles for watching this bizarre film reel of
1920s
nudity and getting high. And at least he's enjoying himself.
It's silent film, mind you. It's a silent film.
But he's just so cruel to Jimbo. And we like Jimbo so much. So I had to put Teddy on my worst survivors list. He does have a good death. We can see he's spending half the movie watching this projector reel on the projection screen, and he goes right up to the screen and gets a knife through the screen in the back of the head. I thought that was cool.
That was so random in a way, because again, you could have seen him coming. There's no way
he's behind a screen.
There's no way he could hide.
And Teddy's high out of his mind at this point.
That is true. He was very high. He was very drugged up. A lot of these.
At some point, Teddy realizes that he's not going to score that night and just gives up.
He's a dead puck.
He's not. He is a dead puck, not like Jimbo.
He's a dead puck.
We rate these episodes explicit just in case. But we just said puck, like in hockey.
Yes, exactly. Because Jason wears a hockey mask.
Yes, so we're on theme. So that's my worst survivor line. Anyone else you want to mention the worst survivors? Or should we jump straight to best?
I think Worst Survivors was also, in a way, it's a little worse. I was conflicted on this one. It was a worst and best in a way, which was Rick from movie. I think it was movie 2, where he gets his head crushed after he goes out to look to see what's wrong, and then immediately gets captured. And I was like, how?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. The eyeball pops out in 3D. In 3D.
In 3D.
Eye popping 3D.
Yes. In movie 3.
Yeah, that was a lame death.
That was so lame. I was like, dude, you're about the size of Jason.
You know what? Rick should have been on my list.
Yeah.
Rick should have been there instead of Teddy. Rick sucks.
Yeah. I was like, dude.
First of all, he's supposed to be like 18. He looks like he's like 35.
34, 35.
This guy is too old to play a teenager.
Yeah.
And then and I guess just because he looks so much older, it seems super pervy when he uses Chris. He's like, we need to schedule time to take care of our needs. How about 1 hour in the morning, 2 hours at night? Like, really, dude? Like, that's your move? Like, that's the cool move, dude? Okay.
I think he was supposed to be like the heartthrob kind of, because if you notice, he was shirtless a lot in this movie.
He's just lame.
He was creepy as hell.
He's the dumb country boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Rick sucks.
He was supposed to be, corn-fed, so I assume if he's corn-fed, he'd be as strong as Jason, considering that if you look at them side by side, they look about the same size. Mm-hmm. But he got overpowered immediately as soon as he steps out. And then as his girlfriend's calling for him,
like right around the corner,
literally,
you can't even scream, can't do anything.
He had his mouth covered, yeah, so he can't
You
scream.
still get through the mouth covering.
Not just that, but you can hit him. You can hit the ground.
You could have tried, Rick.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, come on, you're.
Rick is where Teddy should be off the list because at least he's funny. Rick should have been my number 2.
Yeah, Rick was creepy.
Still not as bad as Rob. Rob was the absolute bottom of the barrel. Rick, close.
Yeah.
Rick is near the bottom.
The one thing I always thought about Rick was that he's so tall and he has a short car. Like, how do you fit
the VW Bug?
The Bug.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you fit in that car?
They said it's gas.
Yeah. As a tall person myself, I did not understand.
All right, that's a good. I'm glad we got Rick in there because he deserved to be there. Now let's go on to our best survivors or victims.
Okay.
So I have a good mix here of people who don't. So again, I'm gonna start with an honorable mention because I wasn't sure if this really counted, but Gordon the dog in part 4. First of all, he's a good boy.
Does he survive?
He does. He's the only character that is smart. If he walked into the carnage, he's immediately like, nope.
I did notice that.
And is gone. So probably most intelligent character in any of these movies, Gordon the dog, sees what's going on. I'm going to be somewhere else.
He was on theme and went straight through a window instead of an open door.
He also hates windows, which I appreciate. I had to look it up and whether or not Gordon is meant to survive. He is.
Yeah.
In the bizarrely complicated Friday the 13th canon, Gordon survives.
Yeah,
he reunites with Tommy later in life.
I think Jason just likes dogs because he hates apparently rabbits.
I think Gordon is just smart enough to just run away.
He was like,
yeah. So
he saw the situation, sniffed the blood, and was like, no.
Gordon's intelligence gets him on my list. My third place goes to, is this fourth place? This might be fourth place. Harold in part 3, he was your worst death.
Yes,
I really liked Harold. You only see him for like 5 minutes, but he's a fun guy. He runs that fun roadside store. He's kind of chill. He's eating his own food at the store. He lets the rabbits in. You feel bad for him. He has the nagging wife. He's a fun guy. I like Harold.
He look kind of.
Harold was an actor. He has the goldfish. He eats the goldfish food. He's giving the goldfish. It was fun. It made me think of a great quote. I don't know who said it. There's no small parts, only small actors. And Harold was not a small actor. Harold left a big impact with very little. So Harold had to make the list, even if his death was lame.
Yeah, okay.
Next place, now we're going to people who did live. I really liked Ginny in part 2. I enjoyed, she was the final girl, and she is a child psychologist. And I thought it was fun.
Oh, Ginny. I thought you said Jimmy, and I was like, Jimmy died.
Ginny. Like Ginny Weasley for Harry Potter fans. I just liked that she's able to use, I thought it was cool, she uses her child psychology knowledge and skills to kind of psychoanalyze Jason, and then she's able to use that to confront him and defeat him at the end.
She took a gamble because she had no idea who this dead decapitated head was, but she could guess.
She pieced it together.
She guessed
because she knew the legend. You have that earlier scene where she's like, "Well, what if it was a real legend? What would he be like now?" And then she's able to put that into practice later. I like that she's tough enough to stand up to him, but not like Superwoman. Like she's clearly very vulnerable, which makes you identify with her more, which makes it scarier.
Yeah,
it was a good final girl. I just really like the confrontation. That was probably one of the more clever ways that Jason's like in part 3. The defeat of Jason is so.
Yeah.
And in part 4, even the defeat really mirrors this defeat in part 2, where they're going back to his childhood. In part 4, Tommy disguises himself as young Jason to confuse him. This one was even more clever. Jason. I'm your mother. You did a good job. Now come to me and kneel down. I'm going to slice you with this machete. Don't fight it.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. Well acted part 2. So she got on my list. Second place, though, goes to Tommy Jarvis, little Tommy Jarvis.
We're going to fight this because he is my number 1.
He's your number 1.
He's my number 1.
Okay, well, I think my number 2 is probably your number 1 then. Or the other way around.
Your number 2 is my number 1. Yes.
Or my number 1 is probably your number 2.
We will know until we get there.
So, Tommy, I think, if he's your number 1, you get to talk about it first.
I love Tommy. He was such
Corey Feldman, by the way.
He was such a quirky little character. We get introduced to Tommy by finding out that he is really into making masks, making movie props, essentially.
It's a bit like the Fangoria cameo in part 3, but pumped up.
Yes.
Where this is a big nod to like, hey, look, we know you horror nerds are the ones who like these movies. Here's a character for you.
Yeah. One of the things that I also enjoyed was that he was very knowledgeable about several different things. Like, for
He was
example,
capable.
when Christy and him go to the lake and see the naked teens, and she takes them away, their car stalls. It won't start. And the first thing she does is, Tommy, take care of it. Mind you, Tommy's like 12.
Yeah, and he does. He's missing a screwdriver.
Yeah.
If he had a screwdriver, he would have solved the problem.
The only reason he's unable to fix the car is because he's missing a tool. However, he knows what to do.
He's able to tell Rob what to do. If Rob didn't have Tommy, he would have been useless.
Yeah. Rob, since he had his trusty pocket knife,
right,
that he was able to get the car started.
The solenoid.
Exactly. And then, like, throughout the movie, when Mrs. Jarvis is in the house and she notices the power's out, she goes out, gets killed off screen, and then Trish and Tommy come back. They'll notice, oh, the power's out. The first thing Chrissy tells him is, Tommy, go fix the lights.
Yeah, he fixes it right away.
And then I was like, what the hell? This character is such a...
He's very capable.
He's very capable. He's also, a Swiss Army knife of this.
I mean, minor spoilers. He's in the next few movies as well. It's fun that... Tommy Jarvis is an iconic human character for this series, as close as it has to an iconic human character. He's a pretty fun one. And I think he is the child one. I also like, I mean, he's tough. Like, he confronts Jason. He doesn't run away like Trish tells him.
No.
Like, he stays and he figures out how to beat him.
I almost got mad
at him. He's actually the one who gets the kill on Jason, I believe.
Not really. It's his... Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes and no.
He does.
Trish first whacks him, and then when they're hugging, he notices that he's about to get up again.
He's also the one who gets the slow motion machete chop that's in all these movies as a little kid.
He was very... I love Tommy. He was very iconic. The one thing I didn't get was that in the movie, he's wearing glasses throughout the entire film. When he transforms into Kid Jason, which in my part, I did not understand why he had to do that.
Well, it confuses Jason.
Yes, it confuses him.
Because Jason still wants to be a nice little 12-year-old boy, but he's gone too far.
At the same time, I'm just like, that still would give me pause, maybe like for 5 seconds, and then realize, hey, I'm me.
Jason's not all there. He's good at killing, not good at much else.
Exactly. However, at the end, when they're at the hospital, he's not wearing glasses still, and as far as I can remember, he took them off. They didn't break.
Yeah, Jason.
They weren't destroyed. They weren't destroyed because when Jason goes after his sister, he's wearing the glasses. It's only in the bathroom scene when he's shaving his head and everything that he's no longer wearing the glasses. I was like, if he's a blind kid like I am without my glasses, there's no way he would be out and about without his glasses.
He had a lot on his mind.
Yeah. So that was my only hang up on that.
Okay, but Tommy's a good character.
Tommy's a great
Tommy.
Not a good character. Great. Put respect in his name.
Well, we'll talk about Tommy in part 6. My number 1's Jimbo.
Again?
Crispin Glover. Best kill and also the best character. I think part of what's fun about the kills is such a fun character.
Yeah.
Where he's such a dork. He's such a lovable dork. And you really want to see this guy get away. The whole time he's talking about some Becky girl that dumped him, and he's like, I should call Betty again. I should go get back. And he's always being constantly mocked by his friend Teddy, calling him a dead puck.
Yeah.
With a P, of course. We would never swear on this show.
Never.
And he has this crazy dance he does where it's funny. He does this awful, awful dance. He's supposed to be dancing to Back in Black by AC/DC is what they were actually playing on set, but then they couldn't get the rights to it. So he's just some very generic 80s song that doesn't sync up at all. So it was supposed to be a bad dance. It becomes even worse. It was like the worst dancing skills or the most epic, self-confidence dancing of all time. You just really want to see this guy get a win, and finally he does. For some reason, one of these two girls they meet, Tina, she wants to get with a guy with a girlfriend, and he dumps her to go back to his girlfriend. And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go with Jimbo now." And it's like, and then Teddy does it again. And you're like, "Yes, Jimbo did it.
Yeah,
he did what he was set out to do. You go, Jimbo." And Crispin Glover is such a good actor. He really actually tries. Like a lot of times in these movies, it's really phoned in. They're just not great actors. He's like, this is a good actor. Giving it his all, even though he doesn't need to.
This was actually his third film.
Yeah,
he had just started in 83, and this movie came out in 84. Oh, so he, in that small time frame, he filmed.
He was already very good. And you just don't see performances like that in these movies. And it actually makes me interested in following the human drama before the slicing starts. And that's very rare in these kind of slasher movies. So for that, Jimbo, I put him at number 1.
Wow. No, I'm just looking more into the history of Crispin Glover. In my mind, he's always going to be George McFly.
Yes, that's what he's known. If you don't know Crispin
However,
he's Marty's dad in Back to the Future.
Yes. However, he was Jimmy before he was George McFly.
This was a year before Back to the Future.
Exactly.
Yeah, 83, and then Back to the Future was 84.
85.
I'm sorry, 84 to 85. Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
No, he was a very busy actor.
All right, I think we got time. I'm going to squeeze one more merit budget that I think is funny. Because these are very tropey movies. Where if you remember that kind of scene in Scream where they go through, here's what you never do in a slasher movie. You don't drink, you don't have sex, you never say, I'll be right back.
Yes.
So who gets the badge for worst rule follower? And only because it stuck out to me when I was watching it. And in part 2, there's this character, Vicky. And Vicky's whole personality is that she wants to get with Mark, who's this guy in a wheelchair, but he's a good-looking. He looks a little bit like Christopher Reeve. He's a good-looking guy, and he's strong. And she does nothing in the whole movie except like hang off Mark's arm.
Yeah.
And eventually she tells Mark, like, I think we should go to bed together. And he's like, okay. She's like, I'll be right back. And she's been drinking. She's trying to have sex. She breaks every rule.
No, the one thing I loved about it isn't how she worded it. She said, "So you're a handicap. Is everything unworkable or something like that?"
She's not subtle.
And I was like, "Whoa."
She's not subtle. But just for being so on the nose, so tropey, every note gets hit with Biggie. Do you have anyone for this category?
I didn't have anyone because
even though he came up with this category,
everyone was breaking the rules. Everyone was little.
These are very tropey.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for like just the basic slasher tropes, this is the series for you.
Are they tropes when it's the first time this is happening?
This is where tropes are. No, because there are tropes in Halloween and Psycho and Prom Night and Black Christmas, believe it or not. Our least favorite movie. But this is where all kind of coalesces into just, it's going to be basically, watching all these movies back to back, they're basically the same movie. You kind of get that.
That is true.
But we like them. Or at least I do. And I think that is our last merit badge award. I know you're all so excited to get to your activities.
Yes, we're going to...
So cabin A, get to their archery range. Cabin B, hit the lake. And
wait, hold
let's
on.
get camping.
Let's see. Let me do a last count just to make sure everyone's still here.
Okay. Was that door open earlier?
I thought it was closed.
It must have been open.
It must have been the wind.
We had, aren't there twins? I see 40. That must have been, 40.
Yeah. 40 is right.
Okay. All right, that's right.
It's been a long day.
So cabin A to the archery, cabin B to the lake. That's right.
There we go.
All right. And as we camp, let's all remember our camp motto, stay scared out there.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this production of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. We know you have many options for your listening entertainment, and we're glad you chose us. Find us on Instagram at Hollywood Horror Nerds, on X at HW Horror Nerds, and on YouTube at Hollywood Horror Nerds. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite alternative podcast site to ensure you don't miss next month's episode. And until then, stay scared out there.